Record. Recording. Sweet, we're recording. Let's see. Where's my little thing? All right. Hi, my name is Michael Frank, and this is the Prefab Pod presented by Prefab Review, where we interview leading people and companies in the prefab housing industry. Today, we're speaking with Cole Painter of New Primitive. Cole, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
It's going good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. You're the first, I think, one of the first kind of non kind of actually like full house ADU providers. So we're definitely excited. Uh, just to kick things off, do you want to talk a little bit about what New Primitive does?
So we build luxury outdoor sauna and cold plunge setups, and we build these here in a manufacturing facility here in West Jordan, Utah, and we ship them all across the states.
Do you have any? I think I mentioned this to you before. I can share screen too. Do you have any like photos or videos you want to show to just kind of walk us through what you
Yeah,
do?
it's kind of niche. So when you first saying it doesn't really give it justice.
Yeah.
So okay, so yeah, here can you see that?
No, we just see a text message.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah, now we see your Instagram.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, here's our Instagram page. We do three different types of sauna and cold plunge setups. They're all modular, so that we can meet the space requirements that the client needs and the intention for the space. So you can see here, this is our MP1, our all-in-one sauna and cold plunge combo. So it's a two-room setup, and you can rotate through hot and cold. This is perfect for gathering spaces. A lot of residential clients will sit this next to their pool, or commercial projects will put them as just kind of a centerpiece that people can come to and reserve and have a part of their experience.
And
Um,
how big I'm assuming the cold plunges are a one person thing, but how large are the saunas?
yeah, it's a very spacious sauna. So a lot of this is a 6 to 8 person sauna, true
Oh.
size. Like a lot of people will say their saunas fit 4 to 6 people, but they really only fit like three.
Mhm.
So these are really spacious saunas. Um, I'll I'll get a picture of the inside. Maybe not. These are the heaters we use.
And is the heat is it I don't electric? Is it propane? How does
It's electric, and it's Wi-Fi controlled, so you
Mhm.
can turn it on remotely and have it set on a heat up period.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, you can pour water on the rocks. It's a traditional dry sauna heater, so
Mhm.
you're getting up temperatures from 175 to 212 degrees in our saunas. That's where the research recommends it should be for all the benefits. And then yeah, this is our 212 sauna. It's our mid size. So it's basically the MP1 cut in half without the changing room and the cold plunge inside.
Got it. So this is just standalone sauna.
Yep. And you
And
can set,
what are the footprints of these things?
so the MP1 is 16 foot by 8 foot deep.
Interesting. And then
This,
the bigger one is
that was the bigger
oh
one.
sorry,
So
that's 8 by 16 is the bigger one. And then the
yeah,
standalone one is
is 10 feet by 8 feet.
okay. And what's from a permitting perspective, do these require permits in most jurisdictions? I assume for electrical they probably do, right?
They don't. So the nice part about our saunas is they're all less than 200 square feet.
Hmm.
So no permitting is required. And I guess in some cities, if you had
Yeah.
to upgrade your power panel or whatnot, that might be something you have to get permitted. But all of these require are 220 volt.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. And then okay. And then in terms of okay, so cold plunge, how do the whole, there's obviously there's plumbing for the cold plunge, or how does that work?
It's just your standard hose connect.
Okay.
We can do a direct plumbing connection,
Okay.
but our cold plunges are just a 110 volt that you can plug into the wall and just have full self-regulated chilling system in there.
Got it. Cool. And what are the kind of situations people are buying these in? Is this like urban infill, ski houses, like kind of like vibey Airbnbs? Like where are you seeing this happen?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of all of them. So we get a lot of residential projects, but one emerging market that we've seen a lot of traction in is extended stays, Airbnbs, um, unique boutique resorts, ski homes, places
Okay.
that are outside that people are going to go out and reconnect. That's kind of the whole mission for New Primitive is to enhance the experience in the outdoors and be able to get people inside of a hot sauna and be able to just allow them to reconnect with themselves and the nature around them.
Cool. And what do these cost? Well, I know we've talked about that a little bit before, but yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
the average.
our pricing ranges from 16,500 to 48,000 for our MP1.
And
And
that's coming out of your factory. That's in the ground on a site. What does that encompass?
that that is that's the build of the unit, and
Okay.
then shipping and installation is all kind of specific to the client. But one thing that makes us unique is we will walk with you throughout that planning process to help it get installed on time and on budget.
And what do you see in general as like kind of the shipping plus crane plus foundation sort of cost for something like this?
Yeah, I would say I see it range between 4 and 5,000.
Oh wow, okay.
The
So
average.
that's actually nice. It's we the base I'm looking at is like for full houses. Again, we do a ton of like or involved in a ton of modular builds. You actually see that the mods are about 50% of the cost of the overall project. In this case, it sounds like you like sort of your part is like 90% plus of the full project on the more expensive one. So that's interesting.
Mhm.
It looks like these are mostly installed via crane.
Yep, our preferred method is crane. Some of our smaller units, you can use a telescopic forklift.
Yeah, makes sense.
And yeah, here's a couple of sites just to give you an idea of like where people are placing them. This
Mhm.
is up at a cabin in the mountains, and
And it
we
looks
have
like is it mostly what's on the exterior? Is that like kind of like a wood or a hardy board or
it's
what do
a
you?
it's a board and batten. So
Okay.
it's cement board. It's very durable. That's how we've approached our builds. Is just we've actually really crafted these around being able to be out in the harsh elements and last you a long time with low maintenance. Like I think when a lot of Airbnbers or extended stays, they're looking at what amenities to add to the experience. Um, I think first and foremost, if you talk to anyone that owns a hot tub, they know how big of a headache those can be
Yeah.
with maintenance. And so a lot of people are drawn to our saunas just because they're super low maintenance
Mhm.
and they're meant to last you for forever.
Makes sense. As a hot tub owner at a ski house, I can concur with with that experience. Um, cool. All right. That makes total sense. So walk me through. I say, hey, I want to go put this at one of my houses or put this at my Airbnb or whatever. What what are the next steps with you all from kind of okay, I'm interested in buying this to, it's whatever, it's in my backyard.
So you'll book a call with us. You'll place a deposit down when you're ready to move forward, and we'll get it put into our production line.
Mhm.
Typically, our turnaround time is 8 weeks, and then we'll ship it out to you and help with the installation. And yeah, we can work with your general contractors. We can work with whoever's kind of heading up your projects to make sure it's done on like I said on budget and effectively.
Got it. Do you have any networking, or is it mostly people find their local contractors for the contracting? Because again, like it's not a very big, you know, kind of local site work contract. So depending on where you are, it can actually be hard to find like general contractors to do like $4,000 projects.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well for like resident if it's a residential place or
Yeah,
just Airbnb, a lot of
yeah.
times we'll assist with that install. So
Got it. That makes sense. So how do you get into this?
I started out with the vision to create an outdoor wellness retreat, um, and building luxury tiny homes out in the middle of Utah and just
Uh,
creating this whole retreat experience. And then I ended up just pivoting and it turned into providing that retreat experience at people's home. Um, I at the time this was during COVID when there was a lot of chaos going on and people I think there was a big step back as far as connection goes with people and ourselves. And so this was kind of this tool, the most powerful tools that I thought I could provide to people that they could just kind of go be in quiet and heal. I mean, that's what sauna and cold plunges do. And so that's what really motivated me. It kind of started with a mission, and then I've just filled in the details from there.
Got it. So in terms of the details, right? You don't own a factory, right? Or do you use a third party factory, or is it your own factory?
Yeah, we were partnered with a tiny home factory.
Got it. Okay. So you were like, I want to do this, and then your product, did you meet with a couple factories about, hey, here's what we want to produce? How did that work in terms of like, hey, I want to do this to kind of like the beautiful solution you have now?
Yeah, it was quite the journey. I started from nothing. I found a builder, just a random mom and pop builder out of his shop, and I gave him a picture
Mhm.
of what I wanted to build, and he started building it, and I started selling that picture to influencers and people that um, I thought would be interested, and
Yeah.
started to get some sales. It took off really quick. Um, within short time, we were doing 5 to 8 units a month.
Hmm.
And then it came time that we were really looking at scaling this and turning it into a full factory deal. And so we ended up upgrading to a custom home builder as our builder and manufacturer. Their name is Roderick Home Builder, and they're amazing. They do like 20 to 30 million dollar homes.
Uh-huh.
And they had interest in the project, and so they got involved, and now we've got crews just uh, building each of these units out, and the offering has progressed because uh, yeah, at first we started out with the 212, and that was kind of our go-to size, and then it evolved to adding in the MP1 where people wanted it all enclosed. And then we found out that there were a lot of space limitations on where these were going. And so that's when the Nook got added to the product mix. And uh, yeah,
Got it. Interesting. So is the builder that you're working with, were they a traditional modular build? Because these are built in a factory, right?
yeah. So they were also building tiny homes. It was Wheelhouse. They were building
Oh yeah, 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 sure.
yeah, if you heard of them. And
Yeah, we've met with
they
them
were they
in
were
Salt
building.
Lake or Jackson Hole. I know that I think they've had a couple locations. Wheelhouse has.
Yeah, Salt Lake was where
Okay.
they were at with
Okay, got it.
my team. And yeah, so they had a lot of success with Wheelhouse, and obviously with outdoor or with these ADU type modular buildings, there's a lot of permitting that is required,
Right.
and utilities and saunas, you just don't have that. It's
Right.
pretty plug and play.
Um, Makes total sense. Uh, cool. And then what again, I stayed at a hotel with a sauna if I go skiing or something and I enjoy it, but I definitely don't have any expertise in this. What separates a well-made sauna from a not well-made sauna? Like, are there
Good
specific sort of,
question.
like for the sauna dorks or the sort of aspiring sauna dorks, what
Yeah.
what should they be looking for? And same with cold plunges.
I think number one is heat, like the experience inside. If the sauna is struggling, there's a lot of kits and
Mhm.
lower end saunas out there that are going to struggle to get to 175 degrees.
Mhm.
And at that point, you're kind of feeling like you're in a lukewarm sauna, and there's nothing worse than that. Um, so one thing I think you're looking for is a well insulated sauna,
Uh-huh.
and any kit is going to have less insulation. It's just a trade-off with the way that you construct them.
What are yours? Are you like R30? What are you insulated
Yeah,
at?
R30, and then we have a vapor barrier, and then we have another sheet on the outside, then our exterior cladding. So
Mhm.
everything's sealed up really tight. Our doors are sealed up very tight, so you're not going to let air out. And so there's what I would be another thing about saunas that you wouldn't really guess is like a lot of people I think upon first thought of a sauna, they're like, oh, it's just a hot box, right? It's just about sticking some warm heater inside it and it's good to go. But when you're putting a structure like this outside, and it's in the harsh elements. There's a lot of expansion and contraction that goes on. And so if you don't invest in a high quality sauna, there's going to be cracks and crevices that pop up around the sauna that release air. And so that's one thing I think you're looking for is just you really have to have someone that knows the skill set of building a sauna because you got to leave gaps for that expansion and
Right.
contraction and have the insulation and all that to build them.
That makes sense. So what's the scale you're at now? You said you got to like 5 to 8 homes a month pretty quickly. Are you sort of still there, or have you expanded beyond that?
Right now, we're doing about 25 batches of 25 per quarter. So,
Sorry, you're doing 25 batches of 25 per
no,
quarter?
sorry. For our batches, we're doing batches of 25
Okay.
units.
And you're doing that once per quarter?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're doing like 8 a month. So
yeah.
cool. That's awesome. And then what about cold plunges? Do you guys make your own cold plunges or you work with like a third party that makes cold plunges? How's that work?
Yeah, we initially when we started out, we were collaborating with another partner for our cold punch,
Hmm.
but as of recent, we've built our own.
Hmm.
Um, we learned a lot as sauna and cold punch was getting new, and there was a lot of excitement around it. There was a lot of kinks that I didn't love about the cold plunge systems that were out there. They were just like hard to drain, hard to keep clean. There's a lot of maintenance that still went with them. And I think that's why a consumer is investing in a cold plunge like these is so that they don't have to deal with all the maintenance.
Right. Because it's less work than putting a bunch of ice in your bathtub, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to bring out an axe and like be chopping the ice. Like
Right.
this is our cold plunge is designed to be more like a hot tub and it
Right.
can be hot or cold.
Okay.
So let's have that dual function. But yeah, we build our own now.
Cool. That's super interesting. And then obviously it sounds like this has been like kind of an evolution, right? Like you sort of started with something smaller, you've gotten bigger, and that's awesome. Is there like as you sort of think like when you say like relaxation pod, I don't know what the other things are, whether it's steam room or, I can come up with other like kind of bad ideas in my head. As somebody who thinks about this a lot, are there sort of next steps and next evolutions beyond where you're at now?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is where rubber meets the road. Saunas is how we're really telling we're creating vigilantes through the sauna and cold plunge experience and finding people that align with the experience and message and yeah the experience we want to create. After that, I think it expands into doing um, micro sites like outdoor thermal bathing experiences out in nature.
Hmm.
And then I'm really passionate about creating community and bringing people together around this. And so that's something I want to build in the future. And then the tiny home wellness retreats. I would really love to be able to build the spaces for corporate groups and people to bring out people they care about and work with to these experiences. So it could be this kind of whole ecosystem of wellness where like you can have a subscription model to our experience. You can come out and stay at our stays for like the ultimate new primitive experience. And then we could, if you like it, then we have these models that you can take home and put at your house.
Right, right, right. I feel like that happened with exercise bikes for a while. People started using them in studios, and then everyone got them at home too.
Yeah.
Cool. That makes total sense. If it's so, we've learned a lot about your product, and then this is available everywhere in the US, right? Just to be clear to people.
Yeah.
Um, we have what's called a sort of a fire round where our site, I think we get like, I don't know, 50 or 100 questions a day. Um, I told like a very small segment of our readership that we'd be learning about saunas and cold plunges, so I got a lot of questions. So is it cool if I fire a few at you and we won't if you can say pass to anything you don't want to answer, but nothing too hard.
Yeah.
Um, cool.
Go.
All right. I guess question number one is we do get a lot of people putting stuff in their own homes, but we also get a lot of our readers are interested in, to your point, like I have a set of tiny homes or I have an Airbnb. Have you looked at all about, and one of the questions we always ask is, or get asked that we don't always have answers to is, what is the positive effect of this on like ADR, like average daily rate, or basically like the economics of this sort of mini business I have? We've dove into this a bit on the hot tub side, and what we've seen is quite positive in ski towns and other towns. Have you looked at that, or have people looked at that for these as well?
Yeah, we've worked with a few Airbnbs and I can maybe, oh yeah, one right here. So this is called South Fork Springs. It's a Airbnb in Idaho, and it sits on these 40-foot cliffs. They have hot springs, a sauna, our sauna, and we use these guys as a case study. And what we've seen it with Airbnbs we've worked with that there's about a $45 per night increase for the Airbnbs we've worked with for their average nightly rate. And then their occupancy was also because they ranked higher on SEO
Right.
and on Airbnb platforms. They also saw an increase in average or the occupancy rates.
Cool. That's awesome. So, okay, so let's just say there was zero increase in occupancy and whatever it is, like I don't know, 20 nights a month. You might actually be like increasing your gross revenue about $1,000. How much power do these end up using? Is this end up being like major consumers of that?
I would say they're paying depending. It really depends on how often you use it, and that
Yeah.
that definitely ranges. But I would say on average, you're probably spending $100 in utilities
Monthly.
monthly,
Nice.
and that's with a sauna and a cold plunge. For and if you just look at it in the eyes of the consumer, like when they're going out to these or to get away,
Yeah,
right? To get away, this is something that draws them because it makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel like it's part of this whole experience outdoors, where the sauna is outside, it's away from the home, they're in nature. It just gives people that disconnection and allows people just to kind of, yeah, I think it enhances the experience.
totally. Yeah, makes sense. Again, when we rent ski houses, I feel like we like don't even look at places without hot tubs. So maybe this will
Yeah.
be the next amenity. Um, Makes total sense. Okay, so I guess the question on that site that you just pulled up, if you want to pull it back up, was that site built? How did you get that to that point, or just crazy crane?
No, it was we were actually able to forklift this one into place.
Okay. Is that really, I mean, it's always hard to tell on these photos, but is that super far from a road? It looks like it's pretty far from a road.
It's actually really central. The road and
Oh,
the
I see. I see. It's like kind of
out here.
hidden. Okay. Got it. Makes it look from that photo like you're like, pretty far into nature, which is cool. Okay, cool. All right. I guess one of the questions we also had, which I guess is actually really similar, is have you dealt with like access issues before? It's one of the issues we have on doing modular homes sometimes on these sites, and we end up sometimes referring people to like kit providers or whatnot. Has that been a thing that you've had to deal with in kind of these sort of more remote relaxation settings, or is it just big cranes can kind of get to a lot of places?
Yeah, I think what I've learned, and that's probably been the biggest learning experience of growing this business, is
Yeah,
the installation and logistics aspect. And I would say at first, there's always a big enough crane. It's
right.
just how much you're willing to pay.
Yeah,
Um, but I would, to give you some parameters, I would say make shoot to have the sauna within 100 feet of where a crane can park.
right,
Um, and no obstructions as far as like power lines and trees.
right.
And basically, if you can do that and there's a flat place, a leveled surface for the crane to park, we can typically get these into place. Um, and that's when I told you our growth, like we were doing 5 to 8, like we were saying at the beginning, our
Yeah,
first year. Um, why I think I've stayed at 8 saunas a month is just because I've tightened down a lot more on the site qualification.
right.
Just making sure that everything is going to be smooth and efficient and that we can get it in there safely.
Is there a I guess one of the this is a dorky question. Or not dorky, but one of the things that we've seen is like, increasing amounts of, I would say, you talked about tiny homes, but basically things that like wheelhouse is a good example. Maybe not meant to be moved frequently, but are actually like on a chassis and could be moved. Is there a version of your that actually, especially if you think about kind of like this retreat aspect where, maybe, right, like it's like a temporary or sort of like a, month or two pop up. Is there a version of your home that works in like that kind of scenario where you're on a bed, or does it really need more of a permanent foundation?
It doesn't need a permanent foundation. It's really flexible as far as the foundation goes. You can do you could do a gravel base with just a few inch pavers that keep
Mhm.
it propped up. You could do a cement pad. It just has to be leveled and solid to that it's not going to sink down into the soil. But other than that, they are removable structures. You could take them out just as you put them in.
Got it. You mentioned a little bit about Wi-Fi. The last question we had here was how's technology affecting this space? Like we see technology affecting, a lot of sort of home building at this point. Yeah, how do you all think about that?
So technology, as far as just being able to control it with your
Right.
phone.
It could be that. It could be building practices. Obviously, I don't
Yeah.
even know. It's not that cold plunges couldn't be done, right? Like, but they certainly weren't accessible in the same way they are now. Yeah. Are there certain ways where you're like, oh, right, beyond the Wi-Fi that this is sort of touching the space in a way that wasn't done, 5 or 10 years ago?
I would say the vision that I see for technology I mean, in as far as in the modular building world, there is some cool technology with steel framing
Mhm.
and that, yeah, that's really cool to learn about. But as far as technology goes, I would say this, at least for us, what we're seeing more and more interest from the outside is for like a meditation assistant on the inside,
Right.
where you could stimulate saunas basically stimulate your five senses. And so
Hmm.
you're getting people into a very relaxed meditative state. And there's not a lot of places that that you have intentional for meditation. And so this, I think, could be a really powerful tool for people to get in and be able to like, this is where you discover you have your creative thoughts, you have your inspiration of what is going to bring you fulfillment or is going to be important to you in the project that you're doing. And so having a journaling feature inside that you could say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And I mean,
Yeah, no,
depending.
that makes total sense. I was just thinking through the sort of next steps there. You can totally imagine, right? The sort of personalized aspect of this, whether it's journaling it, right? Whether it's like giving you your mantra, whether it's like okay, this is your temperature and this is how much time you stay, which is
Exactly.
different than your whatever wife or husband or friend.
Yeah,
Uh,
you could link it with your biometrics, like your
mhm.
Whoop or your Garmin, and it could say, "Hey, you're looking depleted today. Let's take you through this breathwork exercise, this temperature, rotate through sauna and cold plunge in this order, right?" And then you could have a journaling feature after that's like, "How do you feel?"
Right. But this is actually definitely a quick fire question. I should have asked it before. What's the normal amount of time people spend in these? Like, is there like 5 minutes in the cold plunge, 15 minutes in the sauna, etc.?
Yeah, it's so the researchers that we follow is like Dr. Huberman,
Mhm.
Dr. Susanna Somberg, and Dr. Rhonda Patrick. And what they recommend is anywhere from 175 to 212 degrees. Um, they do say just 57 minutes accumulative over a week.
Okay.
But if you're going in there just individually or just one time, they
Right.
recommend 15 to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And I think if you're listening to this and you're trying sauna, you're looking for that uncomfortable feeling that you get around 15 minutes, where it's like your mind and your body's telling you to get out.
Right.
I always recommend people stay 5 minutes longer once they feel that.
Makes sense. Um, cool. Well, I really appreciate the time, Cole. The question we kind of ask everyone, um, who's on our, I guess this is a video and a podcast, or it'll come out as both, is what are you most excited about your company or the industry for the near future?
It's a good question. I'm uh I'm really excited to bring this to the US. I think that I'm really excited to see it get adopted into our culture, and I hope it flourishes here. But I'm really excited to create these like thermal bathing experiences out in nature. I think that's what really gets me excited is being able to host people at a really cool space, like similar to this cabin, that I could add in sauna, cold plunge, um, infrared, salt rooms. Like I want to create this whole experience around thermal bathing, and I think that's what gets me really excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time. For everyone here, if you want to learn more about New Primitive, newprimitive.io is the website. As always, you can find out about them and, many, many other interesting companies at prefabreview.com. Cole, thanks again.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Yep.